Welcome back to our preview of the final day of Royal Ascot. We get into the undercard of racing now, the Wokingham Stakes. The first we're going to take a look at a notable scratching here in Boomerang Bob.
Yeah, I might have fancied him, but still have plenty of choice with the remainder of the field. Just the 30 running here, so place and win opportunities. I don't think you can do QPs or chases in this with the field being so large. The horse we'll get to in a moment is number 10, Duke of Firenze, who we saw win at Epsom over that very, very swift 5 furlongs there. That was on the first day of the month, and Ryan Moore will ride him again. He was favoured on that occasion, likely to be favoured again in this occasion.
Australian, or in fact New Zealand, but Australian-based superstar and young man who's had a stint here in Hong Kong is James McDonald, who's riding with success on a working holiday in the UK at the moment. He's on Stropshire.
Yeah, he rides number 17 as a horse who's won course and distance form of his sole start at Ascot. Might be a big price, could be worth looking out for perhaps. Tough race though, isn't it, Dave?
Oh, really tough race. You could make good, strong cases for a lot of these. Gabriel's Lad is the man to Kieran Fallon, who was second to Hamza on his last start, but has course and distance winning form back in October of last year. I think he's quite interesting. Of the outsiders, I thought Jamesy from David Marnane's stable in County Tipperary in Ireland might be interesting. He's got 2 in the race. Nocturne, who I would anticipate on the day in the UK, could well be quite a market mover, trained by Jeremy Nacida. He won at Newmarket over 6 furlongs in his previous start. He's a very, very consistent type, Nocturne, and he's just the type that the trainer may have just labelled this race for. And I thought Elusivity, who was 4th at Shanty last time out for Tom Queally, might also run well. But there's a plethora of them here that you could fancy. Yeah,
a big field to analyse, isn't it, for the Wokingham Stakes? Well, we'll have a look at the recent performance of Duke of Firenze, the horse you're pretty keen on here, Jerry. Winning on Epsom Derby Day, the dash there over 1,000 metres.
Look how far back he is. That's one of the blue cap red sleeves. About 4th from the rear and a good 5 lengths off them here at this stage with about 300 metres to race. A lot of work to do. And then the downhill galloper, this race is running usually in about 53, 54 seconds. It's a little bit slower on this occasion. Moore weaves a passage here, still doesn't look like the likeliest winner, then flies. Stepping up to 6 furlongs, not a problem. Even if it is quite a stiff, undulating 6 furlongs at Ascot, no problem for a horse by Pivotal. The dam is bred over further, strong chance.
And the owners, Jubilee Park Stud, have had some very, very good sprinters over the years. They've had the likes of Kingsgate Native and others. It's a sphere that they quite like. They like to have a good sprinter, and Duke of Firenze, they've got a pretty useful one too. He was a good bit better than the rest of them there, wasn't he? And victory didn't look assured at all at the 200-metre mark.
No, certainly not. It's just wide open, 30 runners. It's ready to go. Like top of the handicap as well, there's a horse called Hitchens, who won a Group 3 in Ireland last start. May not be you know, a forlorn hope for him. He's number 2, written by Johnny Murta, but very, very difficult. If you're putting horses in Quinellas, you need 5 or 6 of them, I'd imagine, and probably the favourite pops up and you're getting paid a lot. It's for a 30-runner race. It's very difficult.
Another horse worth highlighting in this big field is Gabriel's Lad. We go back to the month of May when this horse ran a creditable 2nd at Newmarket over 1,200 metres.
Yeah, quite a useful type, Gabriel's Lad. Kieran Fallon would have had plenty of rides offered to him in this race, but it's interesting that he goes with Gabriel's Lad. He's a useful type, and this was a very, very solid run as well. I think even more significance is the fact that he won back in October at Ascot over the course and distance, and he's quite well treated in this race. The fact that Fallon has taken the ride in him is a big plus.
We have to touch on the subject of the draw as well here with the field that's so large, 30 runners. On the first day, on the Tuesday, it would seemingly that high numbers towards the stands rail were favoured. Wednesday and Thursday, particularly on Thursday night, all the horses were drifting more towards the centre and towards horses that were drawn low. Overall, if you look at a site called drawbias.com, it suggests that there's not enough sample evidence for any particular bias to be ascertained. You'll have to work it out on Saturday yourself. But
it seems to occur, Jerry, from meeting to meeting, doesn't it? As opposed to, you know, a prominent draw. You're quite right in what you say. There isn't enough data to say for sure what's going to happen.
No hard and fast rule, like, for example, a shot 10,000 metres where you want to be drawn high against the sandrails. There's nothing like that. I just think it's a pretty fair track overall. So it's still worth paying attention to the Chesham Stakes as to how it pans out on the day in the first race.
In what is probably the toughest race of the day to assess, Jerry, you've gone with Duke of Firenze.
Yeah, pretty easy to do given his win there at Epsom last start. I've got him on top from Gabriel's Lad. Nocturne, and a horse who finished strongly behind him at Epsom. That is Dinkum Diamond, number 16.
Dave?
But in Gabriel's Lad, like the horse, I thought Jamesy had run well at a big price. Nocturne, who I'd anticipate to be very well supported on the day in the UK for Jeremy Nacida, and Elusivity, who's got bits and pieces of form that would give him a chance.
To the Chesham Stakes field now on Diamond Jubilee Stakes Day. This is run over 1,400 metres, and this is the lineup. Berkshire, Bunker, Carl Rissian, we've also got down there Freedom Square and Friendship for Joseph O'Brien. The rest of the field made up by Key Society, a Lone Warrior. We've got Scargill, Shepherd Gate and Sir Jack Layden running with Jamie Spencer in the saddle. So if you go on with this race.
Again, it's a wide open contest. It's for 2-year-olds over 7 furlongs. Some Hong Kong relevance to this, and that Zaidan, who's now trained by Tony Cruz, a Group 1 winner for John Moore last year. He won this race back 3 years ago. So you might see some of these coming here in due course. But difficult to work out. Horses that have won some races amongst them, it's difficult. I settled on one called Somewhat, who's number 15, trained by Mark Johnston. Won his maiden in Scotland by 7 lengths, did it doing handsprings. I think that form is solid and could be the one to topple.
I went with Jerry with Somewhat. I thought he was really impressive when he won at Musselburgh, which is, as Jerry pointed out, in Scotland. And it was a nice performance. He's a son of Dynaformer. He's the last of the Dynaformer crop, who's a now deceased stallion from America. But Mark Johnson often runs several in this race, and I think in this filly he could be a little bit above average somewhat. And it's a good race for 2-year-olds with an eye to the future. So
clear-cut decision-making there by Jerry and David, both with Somewhat to win the Chesham Stakes. From Freedom Square, Jerry, you've included there?
Yeah, that's trained by Jim Bulger. Won on good to firm ground last time in Ireland, so if that sort of going prevails again, I think he could be thereabouts. Along with Street Force, who could be a price from the Clive Britton yard, who won this 3 years ago with Zaidan. Lone Warrior, both Dave and I have opted for this guy. His effort on debut at Salisbury wasn't bad. He got held up for a run. He could be a price Tom Queally riding. You'd agree? I would agree, yes. I like Somewhat. I think he's a pretty decent animal. Ittimal represents last year's winning connections. He's been second on both the starts so far, over 1,200. I like Lone Warrior as well. Those Salisbury maidens are not easily won, and the Son of Oratory was pretty impressive when he won on that occasion. Okay, interesting. The Duke of Edinburgh Stakes is another of the races we're going to assess on Diamond Jubilee Stakes Day. This over 2,400 metres, a handicap race, and another tricky one to they're not making it easy for her. Another cavalry charge. Yeah, there's only just the 22 runners or so here. Difficult again, of course. The one I opted for here is number 3, Hammerfest. He was second in the race last year, and he won his last time out in France. I think it might be a plot for him, for John Hammond. He's come back. The horse has probably improved a little bit, and I thought he could be value. Might have slipped under a couple of radars, so we shall see. But not yours. Not much does it? Not much does. No, they're all Jerry's always on the button, especially in these handicaps. I think Hammerfest has got a chance, but once again, there's lots of horses in here you could like. I thought Rye House was the right one for Sir Michael Stout and Ryan Moore. I thought he won really well at York, over 1.25 miles on his last start. I think he's interesting. This Silver Lion is going to be a huge prize. He's a son of Mizzen Mast. 3 starts back, he was 3rd at Ascot, and he ran on unfavourable conditions in his last 2 starts. Communicator was 3rd in the Ormond Stakes at Chester, and finally I went with Stensive, who was 2nd at Ascot 2 starts back, and he was 6th on his reappearance. He's quite a useful type, but you couldn't really narrow it to 4. There's lots you could fancy. 7 numbers there between 2 of us, so it just sort of says it all. And I've missed out a few as well that I wanted to put in, so well, not easy, folks. Would you like me to get the dartboard out? Yes, please. Do we need it for the Queen Alexandra Stakes? This is the last simulcast event for Hong Kong tomorrow night. Run over a gruelling 4,345 metres. Yeah, work that one out. And because it's such a specialist distance, I think this can be tapered down a little bit. Probably mightn't be as difficult as some of the ones that we've seen earlier. And Coolbara is number 4. I think this is a plot from Bulger to finish off the meeting in perfect style. It's a horse that's owned by his daughter, the wife of the jockey Kevin Manning. Won a race very well in Ireland last time over 1 mile and 6. Will stay the distance, won over 2 miles in Galway last year in sort of National Hunt bumper conditions. You're fancying him as well, Dave?
Yeah, I like Coolbara, which is the Irish word for goalkeeper, and Jim Bulger names a lot of his horses with Irish names, which is much to the chagrin of the English commentators who find it really hard to pronounce them. But I thought Coolbara had won well at Leopardstown over 1 mile and 6, and I also liked No Heretic, who was 3rd at Newmarket over 1.5 miles for David Simcock last
Joe, a horse you'd recognise as number 14, Shawardi, who was winner of the Herbert Power last Spring Carnival in Melbourne. Then went wrong in a big race after that in Australia. Came back to France, very, very disappointing most recently in a Group 2. But the fact that he has form here at the course and distance, Alain Droit-Dupre wouldn't be sending him here if he didn't think he was right. I think he might be a bit of a price. If you look at his recent form, you couldn't have him. But the fact that he's here, I'm giving him some credence.
Okay, a tough day if you're betting on the final meeting of Royal Ascot Week. A highlight race, the Group 1 Diamond Jubilee Stakes, of course, at Group 1 for the sprinters. And, well, what a week it's been. We've got one more day to go. I'm sure there'll be many more highlights.
Well, there will, of course. And it's an intriguing day's racing on Saturday because you've got races over 6 furlongs and 2.5 miles. So what more could you ask for?
Yeah, exactly. And the Group 1 sprint to wrap up, I think Society Rock will be the one to beat.
Hawkeye the new for me for Scotland.
Okay. Well, last year in the Diamond Jubilee, how can we forget? In fact, I'm still trying to catch my breath after watching Black Caviar just hold on to win.
Yeah, well, enough has been said about it. I think we'll watch it here now as well and just let it pass. Just move on.
This is a replay of last year's win by Black Caviar in the Diamond Jubilee Stakes. Join us tomorrow night for all the live coverage from Royal Ascot. Bye for now.
They're away, racing, slow to go. Black Caviar travelling comfortably on the right in 3rd place. Black Caviar's in front. Here comes Blue Light Cloud on the stand side with Rescue D'Argent, a twin French assault. Black Caviar needs the line. He's easing up on her and he's just scraped in. Oh, he